en Chicago. Dimensión Latina FM Radio TV. Baja nuestra aplicación a través de tu iPhone o Android. Búscanos como Dimela FM. Búscanos en TuneIn Radio como Dimensión Latina FM y visita nuestra página web dimelafm.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wings of Love. Your host, ELSA PRADO, here with you today. We have a great segment today with a very special person, and our guest is broadcasting with us from California, and we are broadcasting live from Chicago. As you can see, he's got gorgeous weather in the background, and we welcome you, Kirk. Our guest is Kirk Whistler, and he is the president of a non-for-profit Empowering Latino Futures. And he has been very much a part of all the work that I have done for many years, because he does the book festivals, he does all kinds of work with authors, and he's also instrumental in promoting Latino authors. So one of the things that I want to thank you for personally is all the work that you do to bring about these book fairs and bringing out all of the Latino authors that are pretty much all over the country. So welcome to Wings of Love, Kirk, and tell us about the work that you do. You've been doing this for how many years now? Since what, 1997? I mean, this is like a long, long time.
Yeah, actually, thank you so much, Elsa. And I've admired everything that you're doing there in Chicago for a long time. And I met you via my late compadre Zeke Montes and that, and all the great stuff that you have going in Chicago is wonderful. I got into Latino publishing in the late 1970s. And was honored in 1982 to be the founding president of the National Association of Hispanic Publications. Mm-hmm. That's on the newspaper and magazine side across the U.S. That organization today has over 770 Latino media outlets as members. So those outlets are serving a huge amount of people on a weekly basis. 15 million Latinos are turning into one or more of those outlets every week. And so it's a situation where they're out there really educating, bringing people up to speed, and providing services like you are here across the USA. With, and all along, I was involved on the book side, and then in the 1990s, my compadre Edward James Olmos and I were sitting there talking about the lack of types of resources within the Latino community, and we came up with what is now the Latino Book and Family Festivals. And we started our first one literally 4 months to the day after we had that conversation on it. And since then, over 900,000 people have attended one of our festivals, and we've held 75 of them around the U.S. So it's been a great way to get out information about books, as well as other resources, health information, education information, community services, all those kind of things. But specifically within the book field, the year after we started the festivals, we started the International Latino Book Awards. And that was totally out of frustration that major publishing industry awards were totally ignoring the Latino community.
Exactly. It was like Latinos didn't count.
Exactly.
And it was a huge, there was a gaping hole.
Yes.
At that time.
And it was very insulting.
Very.
And so with our awards, and we have 85 different categories. So like at an event like the American Library Association, librarians will come up and they'll go, "Oh, do you have books in this or that?" I go, "No problem, we got you covered." And that's why we have it set up that way. So then people can sit there and find these various books in whatever type, their children, adult, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, all the different spectrums, English, Spanish, and even Portuguese. This last year, we had so many books come in. It took 239 judges to handle them all. And with that, we are now one of the 5 biggest book awards in the U.S., and we're the largest diverse book awards in the world.
Absolutely. And a lot of it, a lot of people don't know that you're the man behind it.
Well, we've got a good team. I've got to salute my team.
How instrumental you are. And also, like you said, Edward James Olmos has also been a very much like pushing literacy, because he knows that it's been very unfortunate for a lot of people where they don't even know how to read.
Yes.
Let alone write. So I mean, the fact that, there's a push for literacy, for reading, teaching kids to read, because even in the participation that I've done, it's always been a push to get children to read so that they can become literate adults that can read and be successful in their lives.
One of the things very early in my career that motivated me to work harder on behalf of the stuff that I've worked on was that KMEX in Los Angeles put up 2 billboards on the east side of Los Angeles that said, Mexicans don't read, they watch KMEX, the local Spanish language TV station that grew to be the anchor of Univision in that. They were doing it to get advertising, but it was sending out a negative message out there to the community. And even what you would think of as liberal, progressive entities like the New York Times, they ran an op-ed in 2014 that stated, "Mexico, a country of non-readers," which is so far from being wrong.
Exactly, right.
I mean, being right, that it's just totally insulting. If you took the 10 biggest book events in the United States, put them together, they are not as big as the Guadalajara Book Festival, which starts next week in just a little over a week. And it will have, they're estimating 1 million people will be attending it. And the top 10 events here in the U.S. combined don't even draw that many. Exactly. So if there's a country of non-readers, it isn't Mexico.
Exactly. That's very true. And that's why it's so important to do these types of programs. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation and people sometimes have no clue. I mean, there's a lot of assuming, a lot of things that people think, but they don't really know the facts.
And that's why I so much appreciate what you're doing, getting this information out.
Because it's so important that people understand the level of work that you do, because another thing too is how you're bringing the Jose Marti Awards, for example, that's a whole different set of publications, for newspapers and magazines and that type. And you were just here recently in Chicago.
Yes.
So tell us about how was it when you were at this particular event?
And that was our 42nd anniversary conference for the National Association of Hispanic Publications. And that group, now with over 770 media outlets within it, it really has tremendous strength. And for the first almost 40, probably 35 years, we were strictly newspapers, magazines, and that kind of stuff. And for about 8 years now, we have websites, e-newsletters, podcasts. So we want you to join. We have 55 of those 770 are podcasts.
Right.
And that. So it's getting into there because now the media, when they look at the word print, it is not a word that they initially go, oh, yeah, this is a great area to be thinking about. And they're thinking about the problems of the mainstream dailies. But when you look at the power that is continued for weeklies and monthlies, there's a tremendous reach out there. And the smarter dailies and weeklies and monthlies are all digital as well as print. And that's the best way to serve that audience, where you're serving them in a variety of ways.
Yes.
And that.
It's become so diverse, right? I
Yes.
mean, going from probably the small fotonovelas that we had back in the day
Mm-hmm.
to this big, broad media way of distributing the publications.
Exactly. And
Well,
along those lines, the photonovelas are now the graphic novels that are
Yeah.
very, very popular. And that still there's a huge audience for them, and they're a great way. My wife teaches first grade,
mhm.
and with kids that are having a harder time getting into reading, those graphic novels, they hook in kids. So she always wants to have different tools to hook them into reading.
Right. And I just love the fact that she's a Mexican woman.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, I'm blessed by my wife, Magdalena.
Yeah, Magdalena is an angel. And has she taught you Spanish?
Well, my Spanish, I understand a ton of it, and like I've been to more states in Mexico than she has. I've been to all but one of them, and that kind of a thing. But understanding is not a problem. It's the speaking. My brain doesn't always work as well as I would like it to. I have too many things going on up there.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people say that. I understand a lot more than I can speak. That goes for most people, I think, on average, when they're trying to learn the second language. Especially if it's learned later in life versus when you're a child. It usually becomes that, people have a harder time speaking it.
Yes.
So what is upcoming right now? You said the book fair in Guadalajara is coming up.
Yes.
Which I have to say, there's a great amount of Latino authors that will be participating, and I think it's a huge source of pride for our people, our culture, because it's giving a huge opportunity. Like you said, a lot of people, have degraded the people by saying very unkind things, but somehow it's been turned around, right? In
Exactly.
a big way.
Yes. The couple ways that some of your readers may be interested, because I'm sure within any audience like yours, there's a number of people that are either they finished a book and they're wondering what the next step is, or they want to do a book. And that. One of the key things in that book is don't wait until you're done with the writing before starting to get feedback and involvement out there. Sit there and start sharing it around, start developing that plan, what you're going to do. So many people, they wait till they're totally done. And in some types of books, it limits your alternatives once you're done. But today, getting published is not that difficult like it was before 2005. And
Right.
Because with print on demand, it really opens new avenues. And with all the different digital things that you can do, there's a lot of alternatives. But then you want to sit there and make sure you're taking those next steps. Within Empowering Latino Futures, we have our ELSA program, International Society of Latino Authors. And it's a one-time payment for a lifetime membership. And there they can get more information at isla.org, isla.org, or at our bigger book site, latinobooks.org. So either of those, and that's where a lot of authors will join, and because I know there's a lot of great writers out there, but being a great writer doesn't mean that you're putting together that great book. It's sometimes not where they don't bring in an editor, or they don't format it the right way, and different things like that. You don't want to fall prey to that. And like one of the things, never take one of these that you go, okay, here's my book and here's the image I want for the cover, and you drop it into a site and they're going to put it all together digitally. Those do not work. Right. And that, so.
But these are very good tips. I mean, you're giving really fantastic tips for free here. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, these are just, things that people don't know. And then, they find themselves like, why can't I get published? And why can't I get this to be approved, basically, by the publishing company? But there are certain things, requirements, right, that need to be met. And people need to understand that there's a certain format of what's established to proceed with the publication.
Exactly. And some really hot areas within Latino publishing now. Children's books are always very hot, but the sort of ignored window there is children's chapter books. We desperately need more children's chapter books told from a Latino perspective. Recently, I was speaking to a bunch of 4th and 5th graders, and I go, when you guys were little, did you see these various Latino themed picture books? And every hand went up. And then when I mentioned chapter books, how many of you are seeing these as chapter books? Not a single hand went up. And it was so sad, because without that, them seeing themselves in the book, they're not growing the same way as that other kid. Right. And those experiences in that. So that's why it's so key to see that. So that's one sort of niche there. The whole realm of fantasy books and that kind of stuff, huge growth, both from a young adult and adult levels. Right. They used to be called self-help. Now they're called transformation books. That is another area that and we see it in the book awards, because we can see the number coming in and the quality of them and that kind of a thing. That's an area where a lot of energy is going into it, and a lot of sales are happening because of it. Right. And that.
Yeah. What other tips can you give people that would like to go into publishing, or would like to eventually write their book and bring them, it will come with some success?
Sure. One thing that I say when you start your writing, define who your audience is. And the narrower the audience is, the more likely you are to achieve that success. Because it's much better to be writing for an audience, a primary audience that's, let's say, 40 to 100,000 people. Sounds pretty small in the course of the whole U.S., but you can market to an audience that size relatively easy. And by doing that, then you sit there and you write down a few sentences about who this audience represents, and you put it on a little card in front of you. So when you're writing that book, every day look up at who you're writing for. Your writing will immediately improve because you've got that target audience. Anybody, and I know every year I get at least 4 people go, my book is for everybody. Everybody should buy my book. And I go, Well, unless you've got a ton of money, you're never going to market to everybody. And so, it's where if you can't reach them and you don't instantly hit them, I'd much rather have a 30-40% acceptance within that 40,000 people than a 0.00000, and because so many books are done today, how do you get discovered? And that's one of them, knowing that audience, defining it all the better, and that. And
that's true. And it's hard because it's something about your book has to stand out, that it's going to catch the eye of that reader.
Yes. And that's where, as you go through that process of defining that audience, you're going to find allies, and they're going to go, oh, I want to read it as soon as it comes out, and all that kind of a thing. And you instantly got speaking engagements and other things. And that's like within what we're doing with our new website for all the ELSA members. As authors now are going to be going out and speaking, they'll be able to list those in a calendar. And so rather than going into a single author's calendar and seeing, oh, they're not going to be in my area for, another year or whatever, they're going to be able to go in and see, oh, well, this is happening, and all these different things. Because in any community, like this weekend in Chicago, there's probably 10 different authors, Latino authors out there speaking somewhere.
Exactly.
But where do you find them?
Yes, that is so true. Yes. So will the website have like a list of authors that are available for speaking engagements and things of that nature?
Exactly. And since you're one of our award-winning authors, you'll be getting something shortly that post your videos up there, post your different things up there, and it's basically a great way to promote, so somebody that can then come on and go, I'm hunting for nonfiction books of this type, and boom, here's a whole bunch of them.
Right. Oh, that's very interesting. I'm looking forward to that and seeing, all these other colleagues that are out there too, to be able to get the marketing out and the the works of, because people pour their hearts into their books. I mean, a lot of people might not realize it, but you really pour your heart into your book when you're writing it, and when you have that audience in mind, and you want to give that community something something is unique to you. So it is really important. Have you written books too, Kirk?
I've written probably around 35 different books.
Yes.
Of which only a couple of them are really based on words, and that, like in terms of the barter industry, myself and one other person, we wrote 101 Ways to Grow Your Business with Barter. That was back in the 90s. And this is organized barter. Everybody knows a trade, with somebody else. But there is a whole multi-billion-dollar industry out there doing organized barter. And our book is still the most successful book in that little itty-bitty niche there.
However, people don't realize that there's still a lot of bartering going on in the world.
Oh, tons of it.
I don't think we talk about it enough, but I mean, as long as you brought it up and you're talking about the subject, I really believe, there's a huge exchange in the world of media that is a barter system.
Media, travel, entertainment, things like that. That hotel room that they didn't fill tonight, it's lost without it. Even services, attorney services, other things, huge business areas. I met a person doing that book that lives on a 14-acre estate in the city of New York that he got on trade. 14 acres in New York on the
Wow.
river.
Wow.
You could imagine.
None of us can picture 14 acres in New York with it, the city being just as populated as
Exactly,
it is.
exactly. It's the type of thing. And this guy had he had done trades for back in I think it was the 1970s, there was Yugoslavia had this car named the Ugo that they wanted to import to the United States. He did a trade for those cars and introduced the cars to the US. And he did a trade like the complete cruise line for the Queen Elizabeth II back in the 80s and that kind of a thing. So it's interesting what you can trade.
It's very, very interesting, and it's just another area that you've worked in.
But most of my books are basically statistical analysis is related to the Latino community. Like we've done a lot of marketing handbooks on the Latino community and things along those lines. And those research, I love. Writing paragraphs is a lot more painful for me. So
right.
We're each good at certain things and not as good at others.
Nonetheless, you've done a great job in bringing out Latinos into a better light, is what I want to say. It's bringing the Latino community in a better light than how it was before.
Yes.
And it might be like sometimes it feels like a really slow process, but it's coming, and little by little more people are being able to bring their works out and to do more work in the world of publication and having their work acknowledged.
Yes. And I've got to, since you're reaching people all over the United States and the world for that matter, I have to do a call out for the Cheech Museum in Riverside, California, just east of Los Angeles. It's the largest Chicano art museum in the world, and this is the art collection of Cheech Marin was the one that was the core of it all. And yesterday was the unveiling of a statue to Cheech that another one of my compadres, Ignacio Gomez, created, and so that was a wonderful day, and that with all of that, because it's really art and writing and all that fits together so well. So as any of your readers visiting Southern California in the near future will want to go to the Cheech.
Excellent. Yes. So now our audience knows to go check out the museum next time you make a trip to Southern California.
Yes.
Yep. Hopefully I'll get to see it.
Yes.
Hopefully, if everything works out, right?
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to add in closing? Because we're almost done with our time.
Exactly. I think writing is one of those things that is not for everybody, but anybody who feels that strong urge, I would really recommend that they stick with it and go through with it, because it is both rewarding and therapeutic. With your writing, getting it out there. And one of the key things, and there's another niche that I should definitely point out, every day we're losing histories within the Latino community as older people pass on.
Yes.
And if we're not capturing those histories, they are lost. And if somebody else is writing that history, you may have been the leader of something, and yet you're reading this book that somebody else wrote, and all of a sudden they're taking credit for everything you did. I've seen it happen more than a few times.
True.
So be that person writing about those experiences, sharing what it took for you to be a success so others can be a success and that kind of stuff. And there's such a market out there and that, because it's really an exciting time in Latino publishing right now.
It is. It's gotten so much better, I have to say. It's much, much better now. These are better days for writing and publication in the Latino community. Yes, for sure.
Because you first won an award with us in what year?
I can't remember.
But it was more than a decade ago. I know.
Yes.
And the big five publishers collectively own about 1,500 imprints. And that, but they control about 60% of the entire publishing industry here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Even as recently as probably 8 years ago, they were not interested in Latino authors in the large part. Like out of those 1,500 imprints that collectively they had, they probably didn't even have 200 Latino authors within that. Today, within those 1,500 imprints, they probably easily got as many as 1,200 to 1,500 Latino authors that they're actively working with. And that's where it went from where the big publishers really were not interested to where now the big publishers are contacting us and going, who's coming along in this and that? And we're seeing every year at least one or two, if not more, multi-book deals coming from award-winning authors. And that was in the first 15 years, and we've been doing it 26 years. First 15 years, we probably saw 4 multi-book deals in that entire time.
Wow.
Yeah, so things have changed.
Yes, but they've changed for better, so that's a good thing.
Exactly.
That's the good thing about it. It's been changing for better. Wow, Kirk, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all of this information with us. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that just did not know. They had no idea, the level of work that you've done over so many years of the time that you've been in this business. It's just a lot. But more than anything, to acknowledge you and how much you have helped my people, our community, our Hispanic community. It's been a lot. But it takes, people like you, to get the ball rolling and to help out.
Well, Elsa, thank you for all that you're doing for the community through these efforts, because you're on that front line, and what you're doing is a great calling.
Yes, it is. It's very, very rewarding to be able to have this, with this type of communication with our community. It really is.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, and hopefully everything goes well at the book festival in Guadalajara coming up, and that we see you soon.
Likewise, thank you so very much.
That everything go well. Okay. All right then. Well, I want to say thank you one more time for granting us the interview and for your time today, because I know how busy you are and you're always tied up in a million different things. So for me to be able to snatch you up and have this time with our audience and with the people that follow Dimensíón Latina, it's huge. So I really appreciated it, and I thank you for your time. Thanks, Kirk. And to everybody that's been watching and everybody that's been communicating, you just heard where you could get more information. If there's people that are authors, I hope that this was good information for people that are interested either in writing or continuing in the field of writing. So I'm really grateful, very, very grateful. And I hope and I wish you happy holidays and that you guys have a great, fantastic end of the year. To our audience, thank you so very much. We've been broadcasting live through Dimensíón Latina FM, and we are broadcasting in Chicago, Illinois. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Bye-bye.
¿Qué esperas? Comienza a conducir tu propio show de radio en Dimensión Latina FM y sé parte de nuestra familia. Llámanos a 925-819-2463.